Hey guys, Dustin Tibbetts here, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers, and we manage our own portfolios. We actually build and manage our own portfolios just like as if they were mutual funds or ETFs. And so we spend a lot of time researching what goes inside and out of them and all that great stuff. And our customers can now take a look at those and can see everything in our new portal that we've created. Super excited about that. But what I thought I would do is share some stats for earnings coming up next week. We like to talk about this on the Closing Beat, a 5 o'clock show that we do live on YouTube, actually. But there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to go through this in a separate video this time and see what you think. We're going to cover the stats of the stocks that report earnings, right? So not my opinion. This is just the stats of them. And you may know that next Monday is a holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So there'll be no earnings on that day or market. Market's closed. So we start on Tuesday of next week. Let's get in there and take a look. So what I did here is I sort of made them, just tried to color them by day. We've got the ticker symbol, in case you're interested. We've got the banks coming up with big releases there. We put the name in case you're not familiar with who they are. The date they report, so the light gray in here is going to be January 19th, whether they report in the morning or after the close. Then we've got their history. I always like to include the history. So these numbers over here, how much history are we using to account for that? We've got 77 quarters for Bank of America and maybe 56 for Zion Bank, regional bank there. So it gives you an idea of the sort of stats that we're using. We're not just saying, well, last quarter it was kind of scary. No, we're actually using stats on everything. We've got the earnings beat rate. So how often does the company report an earnings beat rate? And that doesn't mean the stock's going to go up or down. We just like to put it there for you. And the revenue beat rate. So we've got top and bottom lines there for you to take a look at. We've got guidance. Guidance, we don't usually see a lot there. Netflix does give you some guidance. And who was the other one? Somewhere in there. Skyworks is pretty good about giving guidance. But nonetheless, we don't focus on that too much, although it can be a mover. We also then say, well, how much does the stock gap up or down, right? You ever see that? You've got, especially Netflix, right? You'll have earnings come out. The market's not even open yet, but the price starts up here, or the price starts down here, and then it opens way down or way up. Well, that's the gap. So we talk about the average gap there. We'll cover that. And then throughout the day, how does it like to move? I like to see that because there are some cases, like Netflix, for example, it averages a gap higher. But then during the day, investors sell it, right? Because during the day, it's negative. The gap is positive, right? So it's kind of interesting there. And then you got the average full day if you're not interested in the day-to-day movements there, just to see what's the average move. Is it something I need to be cautious about? If you own Alcoa, you could see how, well, that's one that I may find that it's down on earnings day, and that's okay. That's the way it performs. So anyways, let's go through it. Oh, and the volatility, right, off to the end here. Netflix ranks as by far the most volatile stock out of all of them there. So that'll be coming up on Tuesday. You're going to have a lot of banks in the mix as well. And then we start this just barrage of companies reporting earnings. So here's a couple you may be interested. Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and Netflix. Those will be the news-grabbing headlines. Goldman Sachs is traditionally the best performer. Beats on earnings 86% of the time, 76% on revenue. And it's basically flat and very low volatility for earnings. So very stable in terms of this. They know how the game works, right? They're no dummies to the game. Netflix does have a good beat rate, good revenue rate, tends to gap up, and as you know, tends to sell off during the day. It is the most volatile out of the entire list. Looking into Wednesday here, not Tuesday, it's going to be Wednesday. You've got Morgan Stanley, U.S. Bank Corp, and Discover. Those are the other banks to still report. However, you likely see that United Healthcare will be in the mix as well. They got a good earnings beat rate there and tends to do really well. It's one of those that does well without a lot of volatility. Well, you can see it actually. So you've got a nice average gap, decent intraday performance, averages a slight gain on earnings day, very low volatility, right, compared to Netflix, right? So that's what you have there. Now we go into Thursday. It starts to get real active here. And that's because of the holiday. So still, notice a lot of banks in there, right? You may not have a lot of these. We happen to own a lot of these banks, but PBCT, is maybe not something that you're familiar with, but that's a bank up in the Northeast. And so we own it for a particular reason, which happens to be their mortgage exposure to commercial and industrial loans. So something, I think I did a review on this. But anyways, lots of banks in there, right? You got Navient. What are they going to report? So IBM, some of the brokers in there. CSX has done really well. Union Pacific almost at highs, so looking good there. And that's basically what we're covered there. United Healthcare's got, United Continental, so United Airlines. They've got a good track record as well. If you're taking a look at in terms of their beat rate, the average is a small gap down, but it's so beaten down. What are you going to do? You'll notice that as that takes us into Fridays, we change themes from financials all the way into airlines. So you're going to have Boeing, American Airlines in here, JetBlue as well, Southwest, still a couple banks left over with the names of like Regions Financials, some of those guys in there. But it's largely going to be airline related. Marine Max, we happen to own that. That one's been killer for us. So you're going to see that, and then we start shifting into tech, although you're going to have to, really wait till we get into the next week. So you got Intel, Texas Instruments, a few of those that stick out. Martin Transport, that's one that I follow quite a bit, actually. We'll probably do a deeper review on that one on our research site. But that's all I wanted to point out. So as you look through here, anything that's in green ranks in the top 20% of all the names on the list. Anything in red ranks in the bottom 20%, same with revenue. Average gap and average full day performance is the same thing. And then, so you can see something like the worst performing on a full day, it's going to be Seagate. Oh, is it? Yep. Seagate's the worst performer, full day there. Intuitive Surgical is the best. Intuitive Surgical, by the way, you wouldn't have to look at that. If you've ever traded that stock, that's a volatile stock. So they tend to be the best performer, has the largest range. All of it, look, comes on the gap. Most of it comes on the gap. So the difference between them having a good or bad day is largely due to the gap. Very interesting. There's a lot we could cover here, but I really just kind of wanted to go over what's coming up next week, especially with the holiday, all the action and excitement there. If you like it, let me know. Maybe we'll carry forward with this. It's just that there's a lot of names coming up the week after, so the list would just go on forever. So maybe we have to filter it out by some of the names you guys want to see. But I like going over stats. I like to see how things perform. Why? Who's been watching? You know it's not because you want to predict something. It's because you want to know what to expect. If we know Intuitive Surgical averages a 2.2% gap up and is the second most volatile stock on, at least for the week, then if we see that, we go, well, that's that Intuitive, man. Yeah, that's a volatile stock. And you'll never forget it, right? If you know that Netflix is the most volatile stock and you own it, then you're not going to be shocked if it wiggles around a lot, right? No big deal. If it bleeds lower during the day, doesn't matter. That's what it normally does. You're looking for something odd, right? I'll be watching Martin Transport there. It's one that we've happened to own for a while. And the airlines. I find the airlines interesting. But anyways, we'll talk about that on the closing beat later today. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And let me know, was this a waste of time or do you like this sort of stuff? Maybe we could go a little bit further. Adios.